Hello everybody, welcome to the Matthew and Kharlene channel. My name is Matthew, I'm your public speaker, and I am a passport pro. Not the first type, the second type, which I will be including instructionary videos later on in this channel on how to safely go about. So if you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. Anyways, what I'm about to present to you is a detailed recording I had with a couple of simps that factually prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this whole feminist thing that everybody keeps talking about really is just a male hate movement, no different than any other hate movement in past history. So let's get into it.
How far is this from work for you?
Wasn't able to go to work today. I had to call off for personal leave. Because everything happened, I wasn't able to concentrate.
Okay. Thank you for working hard at your job. It's a really cool way to participate in the community around you. And we get to do that. Sorry that today was not a day for that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that those kind of things exist for that reason.
Okay, everybody, here's the first factor I thought I should point out to you. What I do for a living, to put food on my table, is not what these people are making it out to be. I am a healthcare worker. I cannot tell you where I work for legal reasons. But I can tell you that I do work in sterile processing. Now, in case if you guys don't know what that is literally the heart of the entire hospital operation itself. Now, these people know this. I did not keep this a secret from anybody because I'm very proud of what I do for a living. Regardless, this is recorded evidence that this male hate movement, known as feminism, is prioritizing its hatred of men over actual human life. Now, quite frankly, I don't care what it is you have in your pants. If you're prioritizing hatred of anything over human life, you are an extremely dangerous individual. And I'm a lot better off and a lot happier not having you in my life. Let's continue, shall we?
So you've sent some text messages to us and just kind of expressed confusion and frustration, and I want to start off by just saying I'm really sorry that this has been a difficult moment, and that my goal or my desire in coming up to you in the lobby environment on Sunday was not to cause any version of a stressor, but it was to simply initiate a conversation, the same way that I do with a ton of people in our community, including with John, which I've done with him before, and which he has always invited to do with me, where we can talk about what we're seeing and opportunities to grow in community. And so,
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Historically speaking, hate movements will try to disguise their attack on you as a means of helping you in something you never really asked for, or in something they refuse to give any real specifics on. Take this, for example. This church that this person is supposedly in charge of. They're a dime a dozen. I can replace it with another one any given time I like. There's literally no leverage here to be utilized. This guy's a pastor. He should really know this already. He really should. Let's continue.
I'm sorry that it's been hard, and I'm sorry that today required a personal day. That totally makes sense. Why you would. And so I'd love to chat with you. My goal, I don't want to lecture you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I was sick to my stomach all day thinking about coming and chatting right now, because these conversations are not like knowing that there's frustration for you and hurt and all that's upsetting for me as well.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out. This guy is doing what we call stalling before we get to the reason why I'm here. Historically speaking, hate movements will utilize this tactic when they're trying to label a group of people as a villain when they really don't have a case. It's basically just a means of trying to outweigh your patience to provoke you into doing something that would be seen as inappropriate. This male hate movement, known as feminism, it's no different. Let's continue.
Not that it's about my feelings. I just want you to know that I care deeply about you as we chat right now. First thing I want to say is I'm really thankful that I have seen you just be super intentional in the lobby with people with your words. You've just been really trying to be an encouragement to others, speaking well to them and of them, and I think that is been really fun to watch you grow in that. And Eddie has said to me that he has seen how you have grown in some of those conversations and things like that, which I think is really, really good and sweet. And so none of what I need to bring to attention is stuff that it's, man, Matthew, that it's anything like you are bad or rejected or anything. I think me, John, and just about anybody that I am aware of, they know your intentions are good. You're not desiring to be hurtful. You're not desiring to be anything other than a kind and loving friend and brother. And so I hope that that you know that I believe that about you.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Now, if everybody at this church that this pastor is supposedly in charge of already knows this, why am I here? Like, why am I? Why was it so important for me to take time off from saving lives in order to be here? I think it's pretty evident that the fact that the feminists who put this guy up to this are willing to go this far just to gaslight me is proof that they need me a lot more than I need them. Let's continue, shall we?
If that wasn't the case, then conversations would have been different all the way up till now, including now. But I know, and others know, that you have a desire to connect with people and make them feel welcomed and encouraged. And so I want you to know that I see that desire with you, and I've seen the ways that you've attempted to live that out. I can, as I'm chatting right now with you, what I'm going to do is, I will speak broadly, but if you want more specifics, just ask. and I can give any specifics that might be helpful for you. I know that for me, sometimes I want broad understanding, and sometimes I want more specifics. And so all of this conversation.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Notice how he says he'll give me specifics when asked, but you'll soon find out later on in this recording, he's going to go back on his word just like that. Which, historically speaking, is something hate movements are very well known for doing. This male hate movement, known as feminism, no different. Let's continue.
Is really meant for you to ultimately just see areas and opportunities to continue to grow. I have them too. John has them too. And part
During
of
the time being with my mother, you mean?
what?
During the time being with my mom, you mean?
I don't see the connection.
What was happening with my mom? You brought us at the horrible time.
Again, as I told you before, I was unaware of that, and I did not make that connection. If I was aware of that, then I would not have brought up this conversation right now in this season for you. And I am sorry about that. But as you said in your text message last night to me, what's done is done. Like, we've already opened the conversation. So now to not but like I would hope you'd believe about me that if I knew that your mom was having some scary and severe medical issues, that I would not have been bringing this stuff up to you. I was. Now, if you had made me aware of that in the past, like I said last night, I'm really sorry that because I've been racking my brain. Did I remember Matthew talking to me about any of this? And
I made multiple prayer requests every single connecting that I volunteer with.
To the what?
The connecting that I volunteer with.
But I'm not on the Connect team. So and maybe you said it somewhere at least where I was. I honestly, all that to say, it was not intentional. I was not aware of it. And if you had informed me of it, or I'd been in some place where you had, I'm sorry if I had forgotten. And since then, I've been praying for you and for your mom since you brought that up yesterday.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Now, this man is supposed to be the pastor of a church that he's in charge of, supposedly. So, I don't see how he could not know what is going on with the volunteers that are literally helping him run his church. I don't really see that. Not unless if he gave up all of his authority as a pastor to these feminists to the point where he's just a figurehead. That's literally the only way I can see how he wouldn't know. Now, personally, I'm not going to go into my mom. That's very deep. That's very personal for me. But I am going to say that I don't really bear any real resentment towards these people because I do understand that historically speaking, you may have some seemingly well-founded reasons to be too afraid to say no to an active hate movement. However, if you don't say no, on one hand, if you don't say no, you're going to go broke very quickly, very easily, because you're wasting way too many of your resources trying to please a group of people that literally cannot be pleased. They're always going to have something to complain about. That is the historical term for what people are now calling simps. Well, on the other hand, if you do say no, you're going to become well off very quickly and very easily, and others will want to follow your lead because that's human nature. This is the historical term for what people are now calling going red pill. Both of these historical phenomena occurring during an active hate movement is, historically speaking, very common. This male hate movement, known as feminism, is clearly no different. Let's continue, shall we?
So again, I understand that the timing is bad, but at the same time, like you expressed, like you can't put this back now. We've already started the conversation. And so if you would prefer to press pause on the conversation right now and we pick this up in a month from now, we can do that. But I'm assuming...
I was told that I shouldn't hold off on it by all people. I should basically get the conversation over with now before rumors spread.
Okay.
And before what spreads?
Rumors about me.
I don't think that would be a risk.
We aren't a community that we literally fight against rumors. And if anyone were starting a rumor about you in our community and I heard about it, my job, my opportunity is to go and say, hey, that's not okay to say. Now, as a pastor, people will bring concerns to my attention, because when people bring concerns to me, that is not gossip, because gossip is any time you bring somebody into something that they have no ability to affect change. As a pastor, my responsibility is to help affect change, and to walk alongside people, to love people well, to know what's going on in our community.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Now, you can't really stop rumors. There's no real 100% way to stop them. You can counter rumors with truth. You can sue a person for defamation if the rumors they spread cause damage to your life. But you really can't completely stop rumors. Regardless, this is also evidence on how this feminist movement really is just a male hate movement. Because historically speaking, hate movements are well known for utilizing the manipulation tactic called give you false hope in order to convince you to let down your guard, or as a means of convincing you to accept whatever tragedy they've laid out for you, regardless on how tragic or inhumane it might be. This male hate movement known as feminism is no different. It really is not. Let's continue, shall we?
So anything that anybody has shared with me doesn't get repeated. I don't, and if we did pause right now, me and John would not be sharing this widely. I just want you to know that our care is for you, even if right now there is completely understandable reasons why you don't believe that that is true.
All right.
Okay.
Tell me what you're concerned about.
So there has been multiple instances within the last 3 years where you have been talked to by different leaders over physical touch. I've talked to you 3 times over the course of the last 4 years about this.
There's people touching each other at those acres all the time.
I understand that, Matthew.
Okay, everybody, here are 2 more factors I thought I should point out to you. Notice how he first said 3 years, then 4 years. Which is it? This is evidence on how feminism is, in fact, a male hate movement, because, historically speaking, hate movements are very well known for lying about a group of people they have deemed to be their cultural-based scapegoats for so many generations. It eventually gets to the point where they just can't keep up with them anymore. It's not possible. This male hate movement known as feminism is no different. The other factor I want to point out to you is that notice how he openly admits that there are people touching each other all the time. He openly admitted to that. Now, if you want to implement a no-touching policy at your church or any other facility, well, okay, we can do that. However, you have to implement that and reinforce it on everybody, not just one individual or one particular group of people, and in this case, men, because doing so is literally what we call prejudice, discrimination, and profiling. Regardless, this is evidence that this male hate movement, known as feminism, is doing what hate movements have been historically well known for doing, which is essentially do precisely those things: discriminate and profile. Let's continue, shall we?
But there are people who hug one another and give one another high fives, fist bumps, everything like that. But what other people don't regularly have is other individuals coming up to me, sharing that when an individual hugs them or touches them, it makes them uncomfortable.
Can you please define the term uncomfortable? Because I've been holding that for a while now.
That's okay.
I don't initiate hugs anymore. I don't even hug people I don't even know. I make sure it's okay for us, but for some reason I'm still doing something wrong.
Matthew, I hear you when you say that, and I know that.
Okay, everybody, sorry for interrupting so quickly, but these are two more factors, very important ones I thought I should point out. Now, I cannot read minds. I also cannot control other people's emotions for them on their behalf. Whatever personal emotional problems you have, those are your problems. They're your responsibility to handle. They're not the responsibility of others. Regardless, this is recorded evidence that feminism is doing what hate movements are historically well known for, which is throw all of their personal responsibilities onto the group of people they have deemed to be their cultural-based scapegoat. In this case, it's men. The other factor I want to point out to you is, notice how I made perfectly clear I checked to make sure it's okay, and he admits to that. The reason why this is important is because despite what feminism is saying, legal consent is not whatever it is a woman says it is at the time. If the woman is of legal age, if she is completely sober, and she did not specifically articulate the word no to you, then she gave consent at that time, whether she wants to admit it the next day or not. She cannot take it back for reasons like, hey, I don't want to be caught cheating on my boyfriend or on my husband, or hey, I want to make a quick buck by doing this. So, there you have it. Let's continue, shall we?
We've been working on this.
So
3 years ago, I had asked you not to initiate hugs.
I stopped initiating.
And I saw you working towards that. We have also communicated as a blue shirt the importance that we don't touch people when we are blue shirting. And yet I watched you walk up a few weeks ago to a brand new girl, and she was there with her boyfriend, and you put your hands on her. You just touched, not in some sexual way, I'm not assaulting your character, but putting your hand on her shoulder and completely ignoring the boyfriend. And I was watching because I wanted to see how you were interacting, not because I was looking to punish you or get mad at you. I'm not mad at you, but because I want to see how you're doing now.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Notice how this simp is basically using hearsay statements, which is what his entire case is going to be. Hearsay is not admissible in a court of law. Now, in case of you guys don't know what hearsay is where you're trying to speak for another person on their behalf without obtaining any type of documentational proof that, hey, I have permission to do this. It's literally what we call manufacturing evidence. Historically speaking, hate movements would manufacture evidence to try to make the people they deem to be their cultural-based scapegoat out to be a villain. As you can clearly see, this male hate movement known as feminism is no different. Let's continue, shall we?
And so Eddie has talked with you about this. And then on Sunday, you walked into the volunteer room and you were doing a great job of being an encourager. And at the same time, you touched 4 different women on the shoulders. And typically, touching women on the shoulders at all is considered an inappropriate gesture.
Touching on the shoulder is an inappropriate gesture now?
Yeah. I mean, John, what's your understanding of touching on the shoulder?
I mean, the issue is one that's just so nebulous now.
That's apparently nebulous now. Really? Okay, but we're all too serious. We need to talk about this because last time I checked, touching someone on the shoulder has always been just a casual way of getting someone's attention. I mean, what do these feminists want men to do? Just go right up to them and say, "Hey, yo, how you doing?" But with all due respect, this is also evidence on how feminism is a male hate movement because it's recorded evidence that feminism is doing what hate movements are well known for doing, which is promoting the narrative that whatever is appropriate behavior for their cultural-based scapegoats, in this case it's men, is going to be whatever a woman says it is at the time. There's no real structure behind it. Let's continue, shall we?
It's really difficult to have to say, you know, in all circumstances, in all places, and in all times, this or that or the other thing is or isn't acceptable.
Yeah.
I think the most helpful passage that I can look at and say, you know, with all encouragement for myself in certain areas, is in 1 Corinthians 8. And it talks about, in this particular instance, food. You know, whether it's sacrificed to an idol or not, and whether people have it or they don't have it. And there's 2 different brothers that are referred to, people in the church. There's a stronger brother and a weaker brother. And the stronger brother can have whatever food that he wants and doesn't have any impact on his worship. And the weaker brother looks at, you know, the food and the way that it's sacrificed and says, oh, I can't possibly touch that. You know, this isn't dedicated to Jesus. And so they can't handle it.
Yeah.
The issue of personal touch is like the issue of food in this way.
Okay, everybody. Here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. See, what these people are doing is called misusing religion for something it's not supposed to be used for. Now, historically speaking, hate movements would misuse religion as a means of attacking the group of people they deem to be their cultural-based scapegoats, while at the same time trying to shield themselves from it, use it to shield themselves from any real accountability. A few examples for you are the Christian Crusade, Salem witch trials, and yes, Adolf Hitler. And now, the male hate movement, known as feminism. Let's continue.
It's not the same for everyone. And women.
Do you realize they can't read minds, right?
Yeah, none of us can read minds, and that's why we have to come up with rules
and boundaries
for all individuals that
Except for women, apparently.
That's not true, Matthew. So women in America, an insane large portion of them have experienced sexual assault, rape, or molestation at some point.
Where did you get that data from?
I mean, we could go and find multiple peer-reviewed research on that. But if not that, most other women experience some version of harassment at some point where men do unwanted physical contact, unwanted physical gesturing.
Are you saying this is kind of biased now?
No. Matthew, I'm saying this because as a man,
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. This is male bias. It is. Because by saying that nearly all women have been victims of this, and this, you are covertly trying to say nearly all men are perpetrators of this, and this, and this by nature. It's a covert way of promoting hatred towards men. Now, historically speaking, hate movements will covertly promote hate towards a group of people that they deem to be their cultural-based scapegoat until they think they can get away with it with doing it out in the open. As you can clearly see, this male hate movement known as feminism, it's no different at all. Let's continue.
our job is to be the protector of our sisters. Our job is to be the protector of our sisters. My job is to protect Allie. It is to protect Meredith. It's to protect you as my brother. But our job specifically as men is to protect and be on the lookout and be prioritizing the needs of the women in our midst over even our own desires. Matthew, what John is saying is right. It's not about what.
Woo! Okay, guys, here's another very important factor I thought I should point out to you. The Bible does not say that. What the Bible actually says is wife is nurturer and caregiver. Husband is protector and provider. And together the two become one in marriage. Translation: the definition of a healthy relationship is where both people are benefiting from the relationship in some shape or form that makes both parties want to commit to it willingly. However, a relationship where one person is the sole beneficiary, the other is the sole bearer of all the responsibilities, that's the textbook definition of a narcissist seeking out a scapegoat. And when you purposely and intentionally drag government into it, like say a marriage contract where one person has zero to no intentions on actively committing to, that's where it escalates to the textbook definition of slavery. Now, this simp is a pastor to the point where he is legally certified within the state of Florida to marry people to the point where they can receive taxational benefits off of their marriage. He should already know this. Not knowing this could potentially put the legal legitimacy of other people's marriages, as well as how much taxes they actually do owe, into question. It could also put into question if an ex-husband really does owe his spouse alimony, his former spouse alimony. Because, let's face it, How can you owe a woman alimony if your marriage was never legitimate in the first place? That doesn't really make any sense. Regardless, this is recorded evidence that this male hate movement known as feminism is trying to promote slavery, same as other hate movements in past history. Let's continue, shall we?
It is about some arbitrary list. Here are the list of appropriate physical touches, here are the list of inappropriate ones. But just using the example of hugs, it still comes to my attention, even from the people that you believe you know, the people that have been in our community, that it's still brought to my attention the need that they're like, that was too much. That your hugs were too tight, that your hugs were unwanted, that even when you ask permission, and I've seen you do this, where you'll ask permission as you're coming in for the hug.
That's not what happened. I know for a fact I did not do that.
I'm not talking about one in particular instance. I am talking about a pattern.
Oh boy. Okay, well, here's another factor for you I thought I should point out. Notice how I specifically rejected his allegation towards me. I told him that did not happen, but he made it pretty clear that no, this did happen, even though I have no real evidence to present to you at all. Literally none. I don't have any statements at all. He's basically declaring me guilty till proven innocent, which is, historically speaking, what hate movements are well known for doing. Historically speaking. This male hate movement known as feminism, it's no different. Let's continue.
And
So you're saying a poke to the shoulder is inappropriate, approaching is inappropriate, everything is inappropriate.
Matthew.
So there's nothing a man can do.
No, Matthew.
I'm always going to be a villain in some kind just because I was born with a penis.
You are not a villain. And men are not villain. I'm a man, and so is John.
You just made it perfectly clear that all women have been sexually harassed in some shape or form.
Yes, by some men, but not by you, not by John, not necessarily by me. Have there ever been women who I have made feel uncomfortable? Yes, I actually know that.
Please defy the term sexual harassment for me.
I am not accusing you of sexual harassment.
I know you're not accusing me, but you're accusing all men of sexual harassment. You just said that right now.
No, I didn't. I
You
said
said that all women have been sexually harassed of some shape or form. Please defy the term sexual harassment to me.
but I did not say by all men.
You said all women have been accused of sexual or had been sexually harassed before. Please defy sexual harassment for me right now.
Do you understand that I did not say all men?
I understand you said you didn't say all women, but you said all women
Yes.
have been raped or sexually harassed before. Please show me the data you have on that.
I can definitely send you
And
information
please
about that.
send me
but
the definition of what sexual harassment is.
Matthew.
I don't want you to.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Just like I said, went back on his word on giving me more specifics when asked. Completely went back on it without even hesitating. And also, let's be honest here. If you're going to make such a very broad claim like that, you should have the actual legal definition of sexual harassment on hand. So you can prove to people like, hey, I'm not trying to implement a male bias or a male practice policy at my facility. You really should. Let's continue, shall we?
lose terms here, Matthew, in terms of what can be helpful for you in this conversation, because it's something that can be helpful for everyone. I think when we use words like all or every single thing like that, that's not going to be helpful to you worshiping your king. What's going to be helpful to you worshiping your king is know what's right for you.
Oh, wait.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. How is it we went from talking about a woman saying she felt uncomfortable to worshiping my king? Last time I checked, those are completely two different things. However, this is also recorded evidence on how feminism really is a male hate movement. Because another thing that hate movements are very historically well known for is wanting to be seen as gods. This male hate movement known as feminism, and it's clearly no different. Well, but what I find very odd is that the person here is an actual pastor. He should be fully capable of separating Jesus Christ from women. He actually should. So how is it that he's not able to do that? I don't really know. Let's continue.
Here's what I know is right. I did my fair share of research on this too. The sexual harassment cases, those whole rape cases, that's the 1% of the male population that rapes women. You're comparing that rapes women.
No, I am saying simply that your job, as well as mine, is to demonstrate love to one another. And we see where one another is at and the vulnerabilities that that person might have. You see and you try to care for them.
And all I get is an allegation in return.
I am not giving allegations, Matthew.
But you make sure that you see other people to give me allegations.
Well, let me ask a question.
Wow. Okay, wow. Okay, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Notice how he says he's not giving me allegations. Complaints and allegations, they're literally the same thing. They're just two different words with pretty much the same meaning. So when he openly told me he's not giving me allegations, the simp basically confessed that there were never any complaints made towards me, and that this whole thing was for an ulterior motive. But regardless, this is also a factor on how feminism really is a male hate movement. Because this is the reason why hate movements are historically well known for not wanting due process. Because due process means exposure. Let's continue.
Would you ever want one of your sisters to feel uncomfortable?
One of my sisters?
Yeah.
What about one of my fellow men?
Can we talk about your sister, though, first?
Anyone.
No, I mean,
Your brothers and your sisters. Would you want any of us to feel uncomfortable?
please define the term uncomfortable, because that was a very broad statement.
Okay.
That they don't want to hug.
And I asked first. I do not initiate hugs at all.
Let's go back one step and say, let's define uncomfortable. Anything unwanted.
Please
Let's
define
say,
unwanted. How am I supposed to know if this is unwanted?
define it for yourself. Why don't you tell me what you think the word unwanted and uncomfortable is for you?
I say if there's something that I don't like,
Yeah.
that I wasn't okay with, I would tell a person. I would not expect them to read my mind like I'm some kind of psychic.
So let's take that one step back. I think you did a good job of defining what uncomfortable is. It's something you don't want. Some of your brothers and your sisters don't have the confidence that you do, Matthew. I don't think everyone who finds themselves in an uncomfortable position feels ready to say to the person that makes them get into that uncomfortable position.
And you expect me to parent them even though I have no legal obligations to do this.
Yeah,
That's not going to happen and you know it.
but Matthew,
Whoa! Oh my god! Oh my god! I cannot believe I got these two simps to openly admit that the feminists that put them up to this are expecting me to parent them even though I have no legal obligations to do this. I cannot believe I got that. I literally cannot. Wow. But with all due seriousness, this is also recorded evidence on how feminism really is a male hate movement. Because, historically speaking, hate movements will utilize one particular group of people, in this case men, as a cultural based scapegoat for so many generations. It will eventually escalate to the point where the people who commit to this, not all, mind you, just in this case, the women who commit to this, have completely deprived themselves of any real mental growth in responsibility that's necessary to survive in this world without having access to your scapegoat. Now, that survey that says that that everyone keeps talking about, that says by 2030, 48 to 51% of women will be single and childless. By 2030, mind you. Well, that's not just a percentage of the amount of women who are going to be single and childless by 2030. That's also a percentage of the amount of Western women who are going to be left with no other options but to take on all the responsibilities that feminism has been throwing onto men's shoulders for several generations, because you don't have access to them anymore. Let's continue, shall we?
Do you want? Here's my question. So, if those weaker brothers and sisters are people that are part of the community, if they're hurting, if they've been hurt in some way, and you have a
Sorry guys, we're outside on this person's front porch. There was a trash truck moving. Let's continue.
chance to help them, would you want to help them?
Well, let me give another situation for you. Say I want a chance to help someone. You say that I would like a chance to help someone. Well, answer me this. What if a person were to somehow just be walking by a woman? He gets accused of sexual harassment just for being in the same elevator as her. 2 days later, he loses his job and his pension. What if a woman made a false accusation about sexual harassment at a boy at school, and this boy gets put under house arrest?
How is that similar to what we're talking about?
Because this is what I am noticing. I get accused of something, and I'm innocent, and I'm guilty till proven innocent by everybody. Simply because it's a woman making an accusation about me, a man.
I don't think you're hearing the conversation correctly. I don't think that you have a correct understanding of what's happening.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. See, I was very annoyingly, giving these guys this exact same situation, but in two separate scenarios. I was trying to tell these people that, like, hey, I know what this whole thing is really all about. I know what you're trying to do here. It's not going to work. You really should stop before you dig yourself into a deeper hole. Yeah, but goes in one ear, out the other. Let's continue.
Matthew, what has been happening is a sequence of events where there has been individuals who...
Please give me the statements of these individuals then.
Matthew, I'm not going to name individuals in our conversation.
And I don't know how to correct behavior if I don't know who you're even talking about. I can't even defend myself anymore.
So Matthew, if you'd like, I can talk about more specific about where, about.
Wow. Okay, everybody. Here's another very important factor I thought I should point out to you. Notice how I didn't say names. I specifically said statements. But he goes and denies me both. Now, I technically cannot utilize my constitutional right to self-defense if I don't know who I'm defending myself from or who I should be avoiding. When he refused to give me statements, he basically revealed that there aren't any statements. He doesn't have any. So my constitutional right to due process and to be innocent till proven guilty was not being reinforced here. This is also historical evidence on how feminism is a male hate movement, because just like other hate movements in past history, feminism is actively engaging in attacking men's constitutional rights. That is literally the textbook narrative of an actual civil rights issue. So, hate to break it to you, ladies, you're not being oppressed anymore. Men are. Because men are having our constitutional rights attacked by women who call themselves feminists. And here's the proof. Right here for you. For all of you to see. Let's continue.
Where this can go from here. Okay? So Matthew, my desire is to see you thrive in community. I am not against you because you're a man. I'm not against anybody because of their biology or because of this color of their skin or because of anything. We have the opportunity and the calling, your calling, Matthew, over anything else, is to demonstrate love for God and love for one another. That is there's not like a caveat to it. It is to demonstrate love for God and love for others over yourself, over your own desires. And so let me ask you this question, Matthew. If there was an individual, man or woman, who received an unwanted hug, just as an example, by you, would that appall you? Would you be like, oh man, I only want to hug you if you want to be hugged? Because I assume that about you, that you only want to hug people that want a hug from you. You're not looking to hug people to force a hug on people. Is that fair to say?
I never forced anything on anybody.
Again,
you know this.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Notice how the sim keeps making the exact same allegations towards me, no matter how many times I factually debunk it. This is literally what we call trying to pressure someone into a false confession, which is what hate movements are very historically well known for doing. This male hate movement, known as feminism, is clearly no different. Let's continue.
Matthew, I need you to listen exactly what I'm saying right now. What I'm saying is I never believe that your desire is that if somebody told you that you gave them an unwanted hug, I assume about you that you would not want to give somebody that does not want a hug.
But I don't know that because I can't read a person's mind, can I?
I don't think anyone's asking you to do that.
It sounds like you are.
How?
Simple. There are people come up to me and hug me all the time. I don't initiate hugs. I ask first beforehand, and somehow I am still having the unwanted touching. How the bloody hell is this not you accusing me of doing unwanted touching because I'm a man?
Matthew, years ago, and I am sorry if this hasn't been followed up with you well by me and with others. My understanding is that Eddie has been doing a great job of following up with you on this. So you're using a couple different phrases at this point. You said that you don't initiate, or you're not using the word initiate. What's the word you're using? You don't. What's the first word? I want to make sure I'm using your language.
I'm not initiating hugs. I always ask first beforehand.
Okay. So,
and I only do it with people I know for sure. I don't do it with strangers anymore.
So you are saying that you don't initiate hugs, but you do ask before you hug. So I understand.
Only with people I know. I already know.
I totally hear you on that, and I commend you that that's been your approach. What we are talking about right now is that you are still initiating a hug or physical contact if you ask permission, because you went out and you stuck your hand out. If somebody comes up
shaking.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay guys, here's another fact I should point out to you. Just like I said before, feminists want consent to be whatever it is a woman says it is at the time. That's not what legal consent is. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you. If you're a full-grown adult and you're not willing to understand what legal consent actually is, full-time employment is not for you. It's not. Because, let's face it, it doesn't matter how much money an employer is going to make off of your employment, the employer is going to be spending even more money trying to fix the problems that your employment is creating. Let's continue.
A hammer person is now inappropriate?
Touching them on their shoulders can be inappropriate.
So that's inappropriate now.
Matthew, that's not what happened on Sunday. You were holding women by the shoulder for multiple seconds.
Holding women by the shoulder? I never hold any woman by the shoulder, Dan. You know that's for a fact.
Matthew, I don't know that.
I was with Anisette the entire time and with her mom.
Okay, Matthew, I'm only going to give you specific examples if you find them helpful. But if I give you a specific example and then your only inclination is to say that didn't happen, then specific examples are not going to be helpful.
Give me a specific example then.
I just did, Matthew. Before Sully's family got there, you came into the volunteer room to encourage and to get a slice of pizza. And while you were there, you touched 3 women on the shoulder. 4 women on the shoulder.
Touching women on shoulder now is inappropriate? When was that a thing?
Okay, everybody, here's another factor for you guys. Notice how when I specifically told him that, like, hey, I have witnesses that can verify that didn't happen, he changes the story. That is what we call changing your statement. That's what it actually is. You also want to notice how he says he'll give me specific examples, but he's not going to give me any real evidence or statements that any of this really happened. It's all still hearsay. Hearsay. None of this, he's not providing any evidence for the case. Let's continue.
It becomes a thing when there is a pattern of behavior that is making individuals feel uncomfortable.
So just any...
I'll say this way, if there is any man who would have came to the volunteer room and done that, I would have been paying attention to that, because typically touching on the shoulders, touching on different areas of the body.
So why don't I just stick with a rule where I was supposed to keep everyone at 6 feet away from me now? Is that what you want me to do?
Matthew, so if you want to talk about what is the next steps, we can do that. But what's hard, Matthew, is even right now, it's clear that we don't have a mutual understanding of.
Whoa! Okay, the notorious next steps. So even though he rejected my claim that you're promoting an idea, a policy that being born a boy is something I have to atone for, he simultaneously gives the feminists at his church to implement a practice that literally promotes that exact same message. Literally. Now, last time I checked, hate movements are very well known for doing this. A pure example for you is the Salem witch trials, and now this male hate movement known as feminism. Let's continue.
Any of this, and that's hard. So we can keep talking about that if you want. We can talk about what the next steps look like. But I can tell you, Matthew, that, and the one that I can get more specific on, is it's not just your physical touch. It's also been your words that you have used. And so now I'm going to share another part, and I will give names here. And the only reason is because I have gotten permission. This is not something I solicited. I had never even heard about this before. But I got a phone call last night at 11 o'clock at night from the Harknesses, letting me know that they have tried over and over again in your group.
I was visiting them last night.
And during community group, they said that they have tried over and over again in your community group to help guide you away from certain topics, to help guide you to what's appropriate to discuss. But instead, you have continued on the same topic, sometimes talking right over them. And so they don't know how to guide you. And so what they have also asked as part of this is that we can find you a community group that that there are individuals who are going to help guide you. And I want you to know that me and Allie are already extending an invite for you to join our group on Sunday mornings. John and Meredith are inviting you into their group that happens on Thursday evenings. You are wanted, Matthew. But
Okay, everybody, here's another factor I thought I should point out to you. Now, historically speaking, hate movements need their cultural-based scapegoat, in this case, it's men, at arm's reach. Because not having your cultural-based scapegoat at arm's reach means exposure, and it means accountability. I'm sure all of you have probably been wondering, hey, why are so many feminists having huge temper tantrums over men like myself getting ourselves wives from overseas? Well, here's the reason, right here. Now, let's continue, shall we?
What you have done, even in that community group, is you had made individuals feel uncomfortable, unsafe. And this isn't from me. This is from my conversation that I got last night right before I fell asleep from John and Elizabeth. And the only reason they called me is because you included John into a group chat, and then you came over to their house last night.
So I mean, I'm being kicked out of a community group right now.
And
the community group me and Sully helped built.
And I am invited.
Okay, guys, here's another factor I should point out to you. Notice how he's saying I made several people in that community group that's now affiliated with this church feel unsafe and uncomfortable. I'm still friends with a lot of people from that group. We have dinner on a regular basis. I'm not going to say names here because I want to protect them, but doesn't matter which way I look at it, someone is lying here. Someone actually is. Let's continue.
You into mine. The difference is that Sully knew how to work to guide you in conversations. John and Elizabeth do not know how. They don't have the ability to do that, according to them. I am telling you that John and Meredith do, and me and Allie do, and we would love for you to join our groups. Okay? And I know that one's hard to hear.
Being attacked left and right now because I'm a boy.
It's not because you're a boy, Matthew. I love you. John loves you. You are our brother. I don't attack you because you're a boy. Why would John attack you because you're a boy? John Harkness.
At first, he thought he was helping me out. Now I found out being banned from this community group that me and Sully helped build. That community was built by me, Sully, and Lauren. And now I'm being banned by someone I actually helped build.
That community group was started by the Harknesses. And when I asked them, hey, can you two start a community group? They invited all the same people that were in your previous group in the Bible study that you guys are a part of that was not officially something from Mosaic. So, and Matthew, I hate this because it's clear that that right now, you don't seem to have any willingness to see that your actions have an effect on other people. That last night you were talking about, all they said was you were talking about things that were inappropriately medical with an 8-year-old child in her room. I don't know what it was. I wasn't in the room. And just so you know, I have John and Elizabeth asked me to have this part of the conversation.
Oh boy. Okay, everybody, here's another factor I should probably point out to you. Well, a few more. Notice how he says he has permission to do this, but still not presenting documentational proof. Everything's still just hearsay. And also, let's face facts here. If what they're saying really is as bad as they're making out to be, I would be in cuffs by now. Or at the very least, you would have enough evidence to turn over to the police for probable cause. It's been a few months since I left that church and began working on this YouTube channel. So someone is clearly lying. Also, who is this supposed child? And where is this supposed child's parents? Because last time I checked, no one, when I was part of that so-called community group, no one there had a kid. No one did. There was not a single person in that group who actually had a child. So, who is this supposed child? Last time I checked, children don't just pop out of thin air. They really don't. Let's continue
with you. But they would love to have a sit-down conversation with Eddie sometime in the near future, if Eddie is who you would want it to be with, because they want to express their love for you and reconcile your relationship, and because they know that this is hard for you right now.
Hard doesn't even describe it. Do you even understand what you're even asking me? Do you even know?
Matthew, I understand that this is really hard for you. And if you want to yell at me or scream at me about this, I understand. But I'll finish talking about all the next step stuff, and then you can really let me have it if you so choose, okay? And so when it comes to occurrences that happen both at the Winter Garden camp.
Okay, guys, here's another factor I should probably point out to you. Notice how he told me I can let him have it if I so choose. Well, technically I am. No one really put a limiter on what way I can let him or those feminists have it. So they technically gave me permission to use this recording to start up my YouTube channel with. But regardless, this is also factual-based evidence on how feminism really is just a male hate movement. Because just like other hate movements in past history, what feminism is doing is it teaches you a series of lies that you genuinely believe are true, that you don't realize are lies until the damage has already been done. In this case, you're being taught that, hey, as long as I'm a feminist, or as long as I have feminists supporting me, I have immunity from consequences. That's a lie. Let's continue.
And young adults and at the Disney campus. What our greatest desire for you is to see you grow in your social understanding of what type of touch is appropriate and when.
What type of touch? A simple tap on the shoulder is now sexual harassment.
I did not accuse you of sexual harassment, Matthew.
You may use Chris. A simple touch on a shoulder is now inappropriate. How in the world does that make sense to me at all? In any way whatsoever.
If any touch is unwanted,
And I don't know if it's unwanted because I can't read minds.
and because while you're saying with hugs in particular, you always ask in advance, do you do that with every other type of physical touch? No, you don't, because I know that you just didn't do it on Sunday. Now, the difficulty with this is that because it is a pattern, it's a habit, and there are specific concerns that can...
Okay, everybody. Sorry, that's all of it. The camera timed out. This is my first time doing recordings, so please be patient. But I would like to close this off by saying, you're probably wondering why so many men, including myself, have decided to become passport bros, whether it be the first type or the second type. Well, can't really speak for all men, but this here is my reason. I don't really have anything against Western women at all. I really don't. I'm just looking at what the Western world dating market was offering. I compared it to the international dating market, and I just chose the dating market that had the better offers. That's not sexist. That's literally how people have been deciding what kind of relationships they want to have with others since the dawn of mankind. That's literally how employers decide who they want to hire. Now, the feminists out there, you can shame me as much as you want to. All that's going to do is build up my case. Not just for me or for men, but also for governments worldwide, which I will also include in my channel. So, see you everybody.